Hey everyone, let's go ahead and take this 2024 Wrangler Sahara 4xe out for a quick point of view drive and talk about some of the driving characteristics and such. Setting off, visibility is quite good. Being a larger individual and being sitting relatively high, it does have better visibility than, say, the current edition of the Ford Bronco. Kind of looking through the rest of the cabin there, we can see that the windows drop down pretty low. Rear view mirror as well, we get a nice expansive view. In this 4xe model, we can see right now we don't even have the engine running, so it is in the full electric mode, at least just momentarily. Sometimes the transitions, when it does turn on the engine, can be a little rough. The 2-liter turbo that is paired with this hybrid setup is a good engine overall, has good pep to it. It is quite loud and a little herky-jerky as to the actuation. That was a pretty good transition there. But sometimes, you know, I've been in the drive-through line, for example, and it came on and it was so loud that I could barely hear the person talking on the speaker, which is, yeah, just kind of interesting. We can see here with this steering wheel, it is a very nice leather material, much better than the regular Broncos. The Raptor Bronco, of course, has the nicer steering wheel, but for the majority of them, they have a very tacky vinyl feel to them. This one is much better. We also have the same gold stitching that kind of is on all the seats and stuff. We can see there is one slight boo-boo in this, where this is kind of fraying already, and this vehicle only has 7,500 miles on it. However, with this being a rental vehicle, that's kind of the norm. These do get put through the paces quite a bit. One of my biggest gripes about driving the Wrangler in the 2024 and earlier forms is the steering. It kind of wanders quite a bit when you get caught with any wind or anything like that. You kind of have to fight through it, and there is a decent amount of slop kind of where you can turn and nothing really happens. So if you do need to correct it, kind of fighting past the slop really quick, you'll have a slight tendency almost to overcorrect, and then now you're in a bad position where you need to kind of come back and you just get into this weird, yeah, kind of cycle of that until you get used to the characteristics of the vehicle. Looking out to the front here, seeing the hood and stuff like that is very cool. We also can see that those two black pieces right there are where the windshield would fold down onto, which is quite nice. In this one, we do not have the sound deadening headliner, but for the most part, this is very quiet inside. Compared to the Bronco, compared to the 2023 and earlier Wranglers, this is worlds ahead. It has the acoustic glass. There's quite a bit more sound deadening put into this generation, and it shows. It's definitely a much better place to spend time, and you can hold a conversation and listen to music. Speaking of music, in this base Sahara 4xe model, we don't have a great sound system. I believe the Alpine is the one that you could upgrade to, and I've heard good things about that Alpine system. Having this soundbar right here does wonders in terms of being able to permeate the sound thoroughly throughout the cabin in a nice full way. However, with this one and not having that premium sound system, it sounds okay, but it is nothing to write home about. Some other nice convenience features in this one, having the heated seats and the heated steering wheel is quite nice in terms of being able to get comfortable in the cabin here. These seats do not breathe very well, even though they are this cloth material, and so having cooled seats would be nice. They're not an option in any Wrangler as far as I'm aware, and it would be nice to have those because you just kind of start sweating pretty quickly, or at least having a slightly more breathable cloth seat. My assumption is these are a little less breathable and a little more cleanable, which is a trade-off that I'd be willing to take if you're in an area like this with some sandy beaches and other things like that. Being able to clean it is probably top of mind, so I would take that over having the more breathable seats. Would be nice if we had some more safety features in here. We do have right here the adaptive cruise control, but we only have the regular flipping rear view mirror, not auto dimming. We don't have blind spot monitoring, no lane keep assist or centering assist, no rear cross traffic alert, or anything like that. So it would be nice to have those more features. I know they're available as an option package, but just having them base and standard, it's 2024. I think that all manufacturers should do that. That's a hot take of mine, but it is what it is. We also can see we have airbags up here now. This is brand new for 2024, having the side curtain airbags, and will definitely make this a lot safer. You can, of course, take off the doors, take off the top, fold down the windshield if you want, which makes this a super unique vehicle in that aspect. Pretty much just this and the Bronco do. The Bronco doesn't fold down the windshield, but the other items that I mentioned, it does do those. So those are pretty much the only things, the only two vehicles, sorry, that exist that can do that, which makes them very unique and very usable. And then couple that with their off-road prowess, and you have an even better vehicle to be talking about. We do also have in the Wrangler here, we have the solid front axle, which, as I mentioned earlier about the steering being a little wandery and loose, that is going to be a byproduct of that. When the vehicle gets older, you can also have some interesting problems, such as death wobble and other things like that, but that's not very common and quite overblown, in my opinion. It does drive very comfortably though, for the most part, and you don't have those crazy undulations that you might have had in vehicles of old with solid front axles. What it does have going for it with those solid front axles is a lot more articulation when going off-road. This model specifically is not very geared towards that, with it being the Sahara and with the 20-inch rims and the kind of street rated tires. Being in this car, it's very boxy. The windshield is literally right here. I can basically touch it, and then it barely even angles back. With the Corning Gorilla Glass, I would hope it'd be better against cracks and chips and stuff. That remains to be seen. One thing that they did do this year is they got rid of the archaic floppy antenna that was always going on, and they switched that out for a more modern antenna within the windshield here, with having also a very upright windshield and being very prone to chips and cracks and stuff. It remains to be seen if that becomes really expensive. I would recommend, if you can get glass insurance with a low deductible, to absolutely go for that. I think it would be worth it in this style of a vehicle. Being tall in this, I do sit a little close up front. You can see I don't have a ton of leg room, even with the seat all the way back. But because it is kind of boxy and just kind of open in here, I don't feel super claustrophobic or uncomfortable. That being said, the seat comfort in these is pretty atrocious. Being on a 3-hour drive, it was quite bad, and I would not recommend these for long trips in general, for a couple reasons. One, the seat comfort, and then two, of course, the steering on it. I will say, you know, using only these cloth seats, maybe the leather seats are better, but I haven't tried those out, and so I cannot attest to that. Just driving around town though, it is a very pleasurable experience. You feel cool, you can do the whole Jeep wave and all that stuff. There is, of course, the rich cultural history with ducking people. Another thing that I definitely like in here is a lot of these redundant controls. While first looking at this, it might be a bit busy. Having these controls here as well as on the screen here does help out quite a bit in terms of being able to drive and then push tactile buttons. Whereas when you're using just the screen, it can be a little bit hard to do, especially when you're trying to hit something small like, you know, one of these little numbered icons right here. It can be a little bit tougher than you might think, especially when you're moving at a good pace, such as on the highway. Storage and other things in here. We do have these door nets on there where you can see that plastic bag is. We do also have the glove box here, which is of decent size, and then this center console here, which is very comfortable and then also has decent size in it as well. No real storage up here. In terms of like where to put my phone, it kind of ends up right there most of the time, which is not my favorite spot, but I'm sure you could find a better spot or just start introducing it into here. On the highway, it's pretty good actually at higher speeds, not a ton of wind noise or any kind of road noise in general. With this one having the more street-oriented tires, that's probably to be expected, but just something to keep in mind. Summarizing things up, This is a great vehicle if you want to do a lot of adventurous stuff with your lifestyle, if you want to enjoy the top coming off, you want to enjoy, you know, the wind in your hair, and potentially put down that windshield, having a relatively practical space to do so that you can reasonably fit 4 regular sized people, maybe 5 if you're really squeezing, a good sized back trunk space area. And overall, just having a vehicle that fits a lot of needs all in one. Is it great at any one thing? Perhaps not. Off-roading would be the closest thing that I would say it would be great to, and for that I would recommend the Rubicon model and probably not this Sahara model. But having all those different traits and being good at all those different things means that it is a really good vehicle to have, especially if you just want that one vehicle that kind of does it all, that looks really good, that gets okay gas mileage, that does just everything okay. This is definitely something that I would recommend. Would I recommend this or the Bronco? It depends on what you're looking for. The Bronco definitely has some strong traits about it over this, such as the steering on it is just way better. Having a lot of those different features available on lower trims, such as the Sasquatch package and being able to put 35s on, and the front and rear lockers. But in general, the Wrangler does have that big advantage of having that solid front axle, of being around for a while, so it has a ton of off-road support and just support for accessories and modifications in general. Thanks everyone for watching. Till the next one.